My dad, Joe Duncan, was born in 1925 in Tellico Plains, Tennessee, in the foothills of the Smoky Mountains. He still remembered the horse and buggy ride to Harriman, Tennessee, where his father moved the family to start a farm. Joe had to quit school in the 8th grade to work on the family farm, and he still remembered the cars that would park in town and drive over across the bridge in and out of town. He hoped one day he would own one of those vehicles. The 1940s arrived and World War II was well underway. Joe joined the Navy to fight for our country at the age of 17. He lied about his age, and in those days, without a birth certificate, no computers could say otherwise. Joe was shipped off to North Dakota, where he learned welding. Later, Joe was sent to San Diego, where he would work on ships. He developed rheumatic fever, and before sailing off on a ship that was later bombed and sunk by the Japanese, Joe was sent to a hospital in Rhode Island. It was on this long train ride from San Diego to Rhode Island that Joe traveled across the country, and his dream of owning a Cadillac remained. Joe later received an honorable discharge. After being honorably discharged, Joe returned to Harriman, Tennessee, where he met a girl named Betty and was married. They were together for his entire life. Back in Tennessee, Joe would open city motor sales and begin his dream. He called himself Low Dollar Joe. He would trade jewelry and land for cars. What a reality show that would make today. Joe remembered the bright lights in action in L.A. when on leave in the Navy from San Diego, so he loaded up his family and moved to Los Angeles. Once in L.A., Joe worked very hard. He found property on Lincolnshire Boulevard in the San Fernando Valley and opened Low Dollar Joe's Used Cars, where he worked day and night building his business. One afternoon, while at the Palomino Club, a local hangout up Lincolnshire Boulevard, where stars such as Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, and others would play at will, and even stars such as Clint Eastwood would come in for a beer, Joe noticed something very odd. There were many more aspiring and wannabe actors and actresses in the Palomino than there were stars. But that day, Joe noticed when leaving in the parking lot, the aspiring actors and actresses weren't driving Cadillacs, only the real actors and actresses were. Joe came up with an idea. My mother would tell the story about the time Joe came home about 4 in the morning after going to the LA dealer's auction, and a little after daylight she heard trucks pull up in front of the house. It was several car carriers lined up loaded with Cadillacs. That night, Joe had purchased every Cadillac from the LA auto auction and went to work marketing to agents and producers that came into the club and any other contacts that worked with actors. His angle was to offer these aspiring actors and actresses a used Cadillac at an affordable rate, and he would finance them. These individuals could not afford a new Caddy, but with little or no money down, they could surely make payments. By the end of the month, all the Cadillacs had been sold, and Joe needed more. My dad was amazed of all the potential, and this concept made him a success. Joe was able to buy a beautiful Mediterranean-style home connected to the Laurel and Hardy estate in Studio City, California, where I was born in 1962. He was humble and very proud of his success, and things were going great. Joe was in his late 30s and felt like he was on top of the world. As LA grew, the larger competition jumped in, and his concept didn't work forever. He also developed heart issues and sold out. He had heard that Florida was booming, so he moved us to Merritt Island, Florida in the late 60s, where the space race was bringing lots of money and business to the Florida Space Coast. Joe opened a new car lot and auto auctions in Cocoa and Orlando, Florida. He would participate in NASA parades and use the same financing concept with thousands of engineers, astronauts, and NASA employees that flocked to the Central Florida area. He worked with Major League Baseball teams and sold players many Lincolns, Cadillacs, and sports cars, mainly to the Houston Astros that trained in Cocoa at the time, and many other teams such as the Reds. Unfortunately, my dad grew tired in his late 40s, and due to health issues dating back to World War II, he died of a stroke at the age of 56, with me and my brother by his side. Joe was buried in Harriman, Tennessee, next to his father, with Low Dollar Joe forever engraved on his stone, along with his naval footstone. My dad instilled a strong passion of classic cars into me. It's definitely in our family DNA. Throughout the years since my father passed away, I have ventured into different businesses, but have never wavered from the classic car business. Not long before he died in 1981, he said, "One of these days, Rick, all the cars from the 50s, 60s, and 70s will begin to take form, and from what I see in the auto industry, with vehicles being made smaller and with much less power, the era of the muscle cars of the past decades will develop into a classic car market like no one has ever imagined." Well, my dad was correct. Many times at classic car auctions, I look around and silently say, "Joe, if you could only see this." And maybe he can. The reality is, he was right on target. A couple of years ago, I was wondering what would be the best way to build a tribute business to my dad and have fun with it at the same time. After thinking about the options, I developed Myclassicnews.com. I could not find a comprehensive website that brought classic car news to the classic enthusiasts around the country. When developing Myclassicnews.com, we concentrated on three major topics: classic car news, which brings all the latest classic car happenings to the readers; current automotive industry news, that brings the latest happenings with all the automotive industry manufacturers worldwide; and classic car auction news, because the classic car auction industry has grown into an awesome spectacle that is a major contributing factor to our industry. Myclassicnews.com also follows automotive, financial, and entertainment news as well. Coming soon is also My Classic News TV, your online newscast of all the latest classic car news. There are many websites online that viewers have no idea as to who is behind the scenes. Unlike brick-and-mortar businesses of the past, websites can be very impersonal, but at My Classic News we feel honored to express who we are behind the scenes. We hope you enjoy the website and the future newscasts, and if you have any classic car news of your own or any questions, please submit them to us. Thanks for viewing MyClassicNews.com.